So, yeah, honestly, there are so many other things that you would want to be talking about, but yeah, again, I'm looking at this. Building racial literacy in Scottish youth work sector now. And, I mean, it's a continuation from the thing about transformational changes. It's never ending for a reason. And, we remember, they're teaching the most innocent of us, the youth, that in one respect, and it keeps going back to what I keep telling you, and most people will never fucking relate to, or they think I'm some kinky bastard, because I realised, honestly, that the belt wasn't a bad thing. It really wasn't. We could be a little shite, yeah? And, hey, alright, okay, there's consequences. That was fucking it. It was a rite of passage. You didn't burst into tears, and you got on with your life. But what you realised was there was boundaries. You went over it. That's a choice. You up for that choice? Can you take 6 of the best? Fine. There you go. It toughened people up. And what has been going on is the reversal of that. The naughties, safe spaces. If you hear all these things about jazz hands. No, we can't clap anymore because some fucking idiot in the audience can't deal with it. Be kind, be mindful, be whatever else, but, for the love of God, don't embrace anything to do with common sense. Anyway. Let's play stopping occasionally. Think about what's being said here. Creating safe and now brave spaces for discussion. Remember, the brave part will be as long as you go with the flow and repeat what you've been taught.
At the moment. As part of that, I do deliver a lot of training around every type of prejudice and discrimination, I think, on the planet. And I'm going to try and take you through a couple.
Every time of prejudice and discrimination on the planet. Remember, up until only a few fucking decades ago, people say hearty words. Nobody gave a shite. They just carried on with their life. But if you turn everybody into victims, and there's no end to the victimhood, transformational change.
A few little things today that might help you start these conversations.
I mean, I'm looking at her body language, and whoever's looking at me is probably looking at mine. And then she goes on to say, because maybe somebody's involved in the IT in the background remotely, and she's like, could you push that further on, blah, 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 name, blah, 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 and then carry on, and, But this is an individual that absolutely feels she's part of things. Definitely. No two ways about it, like.
And one of them is around creating safe and brave spaces. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Kirsten? Might be 2 slides long. Yep, and again. There we go. So what is a safe and brave space? To me, it's a space that empowers young people to speak about the issues that impact them. But I'd like to hear from you what you think the key elements of creating a safe or a brave.
And remember, that's going back to the Delphi technique. We'd like to hear your input, but we've already got it fucking, in the bag. But we'll pretend we give a fuck, but,
Space are. You might not have heard the term brave space before. It is being used more and more often. But rather than it just being a space that's safe, where there's no discrimination, it's also a space where you can start to speak up and are ready to be challenged. But what do you think?
Usually got handlers behind them, whatever else, and as long as they see the right things, that's fine. They're safe and brave. Anybody else?
Are the key elements for creating a safe or brave space? And if you could put that.
And remember, all through an environment, let's be honest, when they're talking about environments, of treating whoever they're fucking supposedly doing this for as if they're in a kindergarten. Remember that. Think about it. Safe and, and brave and, Seriously. Only in the last few decades. Remember, look at the fucking Second World War alone. People like about 18, 19, 20 were flying about in fucking Spitfires, knowing that they might not get back. Seriously. And here we are. It's all part of destroying the West. It's about cucking. It's about quite literally destroying all testosterone, estrogen, all the rest there. Fucking destroy it.
In the chat box, just your initial thoughts.
In the chat box, and you're not seeing that one.
But a tool I've used in my introduction to racial literacy training is on the net.
Racial literacy training. Remember, we're all racist. And by default, if you've got white skin, well, right from nursery, we're going to have to tell you you're, well, inherently racist and colonizers and just evil people, really.
Next slide. And I think it's quite a handy tool to use. I quite like. I just.
And by the way, she's obviously filleting somebody else in her occult network because nobody comes out with what she just came out with. I'm sure there was occultists that were like, "Oh fuck!" But think about what she says. I know it's going to be a few seconds, but think about what she says.
The tool to use. I quite like. I just like it. Kirsten, can you move along? Thanks. Is this?
Kirsten, yeah, again, come on, keep doing what you're doing. Look at that. Critical love, critical humility, critical reflection, historical literacy, the arch biology of self. I mean, this is absolutely New Age, belief system. But racial literacy development is at the top of this pyramid. And people could say, oh, come on, Scott, pyramids, conspiracy theory. Oh, she'll milk it in a second.
Pyramid.
Meanwhile, look at that one. Remember? There she is. I mean, it's always sexual with these fucking lunatics. Look.
Move along. Thanks. Is this pyramid? I like a pyramid.
I mean, seriously. I mean, at the moment, they've got more occultists and, for pushing to the final goals. But over time, they're going to fucking whittle away that 10% as well, and not for small reasons either. Because remember, most of that 10% have been making out like bandits, but that's like a lot of dosh. A lot of dosh for the occult elite. And, well, we've got AI. Well, I mean, all these fucking tossers are bringing about their own demise, but you're dealing with lunacy and, the short term. Even although many of them realise, not this individual obviously, that they're playing musical chairs, they would still rather be doing that than be seen as part of the public. But look at this.
Generally, because I feel like that you're building up towards something and you're developing.
Building up towards something. Honestly, seriously, they all fucking think they've got this in joke. And they're right to an extent. But not to people like myself and others. It's so fucking patently obvious. It's this new age fucking ideological lunacy that is ultimately self-destructive and an interconnected death cult. And as I said so many times, honestly, the genius of C.S. Lewis is that hideous strength.
Pyramid. I like a pyramid, generally, because I feel like that would.
Can you imagine how many other occultists cringed at what she just said there? But, she's brown-nosing her way up through the network. Somewhere on that socio-psychopathic scale. Being humoured at the moment.
Building up towards something, and you're developing. But it always starts, these conversations, they always start with critical love. And
seriously, think about this. Seriously. Scottish youth work sector.
It's that, I don't know if it's very small, it's quite small for me at the moment, so I'm going to look at my big screen. But critical love is around that sort of profound ethical commitment to caring for the communities in which we work. Now, I'm pretty sure that
I mean, if any of you occultists are watching, obviously she's a fucking liability, and I'm sure you've worked that out, but, I mean...
the vast majority of youth workers have already made that commitment before they even started this kind of discussion.
But think about the sizes of these networks and well-funded, and most people aren't even talking about it. They're not.
having a controversial discussion at all. So we're already on that pyramid. We're already started our journey.
Did you miss the term? Seriously, honestly.
Then we look at critical humility and that idea of remaining open to understanding the limits of our own worldviews and ideologies.
As long as you go with the flow. You can pretend to be a free spirit and all the rest that we're telling you to be a free spirit and all the rest of it, but, you know, there is a direction of travel.
A critical reflection, thinking through the various layers of our identities and how our privilege...
Our identities. Up until a few decades ago, that wasn't a thing. Just, what's your name? Who's your family? All the rest of it. Yeah, thousands of fucking years. Identities.
And marginalised statuses affect the work we do. Now, a lot of that is a little bit work. We need to understand what our views are. We need to understand what our ideologies are. We need to understand what our prejudices and
I mean, she is talking about these little networks. She's because remember, most people are blissfully unaware of these things existing. It's always I could do a better job, but oh my fucking God, I realise, seriously, people need to be entertained. And we're well beyond entertaining when you think about it. Wouldn't you rather just look at the data? Seriously. To only now look at things based on AI and keeping your attention span. Read more. And I'll speak to you soon.